Where's my phone? Let's see. Looks good. I don't know if you want to check the audio.
Oh, yeah, let me check. Oh, YouTube. Oh, yeah, we sound great.
Everything sounds good.
Sexy.
Yeah, well, you always do, so.
I appreciate that. At least someone thinks so.
Oh, brother Joseph. How are you? I mean, I know the car stuff is stressing you out, but how are things?
The Lord is good, man. I'm not gonna
be
I'm not gonna be stressed about it anymore. I'm like, it's gonna. I was telling my keeper, I was like, it's gonna be okay. Everything's gonna work out how it needs to work out.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, because one of the things I've been I've been training a lot at work the last couple of weeks, yeah, I guess I'll have to talk. I don't like talking about work on the show so much right now. Just it's one of those things that I'm not. There's certain things I like to keep close to the chest, and that's just kind of one of the things. But I guess we haven't talked about it. I've been kind of keeping it. We just don't talk about work that often. But I'll tell you before we end the call tonight after we get off the show. But yeah, I've been doing like a ton of training, and one of the things I've been kind of like telling the people that I'm training right now is like, listen, I was like, there are going to be times where the best way for you to handle the things that are going on around you is literally just to get in the water and go with the flow of it. Like, because the more that you resist certain things, the worse it's going to be for you. Like, you're going to stress yourself out way too much.
Yep.
And sometimes, it just is what it is, sort of like the state of modern television right now, where I literally finished episode 2 of the show and was like, I think I'm borderline done with anything new that comes out,
Yeah. You know what's
it gets worse every time they keep airing this stuff.
I don't blame you, man. I mean, it really did. I mean, that episode was
Garbo, dude. I mean,
dude, there's so many like
there's so many problems. There's so many problems. And it's like, and I'll let you say your piece, and then I'll kind of go back and forth with like the game stuff. It's not one for one, but they do like it's probably like 85% is what I would say. I feel like that's a good number for it.
It's like right there at it, basically.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations where this would have been the perfect time not to go with the source material.
Oh, dude.
It's ironic when how much they have been sticking, from what you've been saying, to the source material this season at least.
Yeah, it's been pretty close. This episode deviates in some ways that I think are funny. Not really like haha funny, more like So someone realized that they needed to change certain things to make this at least slightly more logical, but the logic goes out the window still. Like there's like and I don't want to get into it yet because I want us to kind of go through the episode a little bit, but there's like a couple things that they were like, well, we really need to have this happen, so we're going to switch these things, and they skip a couple. And I don't think they're going to happen at this point because they really like speed through a couple things that are major like points in the game, like early on. And it's just it's a really interesting. It's interesting to see kind of what you would consider like mainstream Hollywood and things that they decided to change versus how it plays out in the game. Neither of them are really good because the logic behind like what HBO was trying to do with this episode to honestly just make it more interesting, other than the kind of like shocking conclusion, which I got on Twitter, or X or whatever, right before we started this, and I was trying to see if like anybody was talking about this. Dude, I don't know how the numbers are doing. I don't know how the numbers are doing, but it seems DOA. Like people just do not care. I don't know anyone
a lot of it seems like a bunch of bots too.
It probably
could be wrong on that, but it does.
Yeah, some paid accounts maybe. no one that I know in real life. I have one friend that I need to text her to see if she, actually, I'm going to text her right now. Because I'm curious. What
you have one friend? That's nice.
I know, right? She mentioned to me over the summer, what the heck? What is happening right now? There she is. Okay.
I thought it was interesting how Grace Randolph said that she didn't want to cover The Last of Us Season 2 and will stop watching the show because she really disliked Episode 2. And, which I guess it's more so coming from her. It's like, hey, I want other people to be able to enjoy this. So I'm not going to just constantly hate on it. And I can respect that. I can actually see, like, hey, I didn't like this episode. I'm not going to continue watching it because from here on out, it's going to be nothing but negative. But that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Me and you.
Dude. I guess we're watching the whole, I know a lot of people are like out, like even Mahler.
I don't want to.
Dude, Mahler, he was like, he's like, I was waiting for this, and he's like, I think I might be out now. I think that's it.
Yeah, maybe we should
be
out though too.
Dude.
Maybe we should just do the list next week and just
that way it would be a nice change of pace. Honestly, what I think it'll be is that I mean, like, I might keep watching it. But I think our conversations about it are going to get shorter and shorter as the season goes on, because I mean, legitimately, we could do an episode next week and I could literally just tell you all of the major beats from what is now going to be split into 2 seasons. And I don't know where they're, I have an idea of where they're probably going to do what they're going to do, because the game is split up. So you have basically the game. You have the first 2 hours, which we've essentially seen at this point.
Right.
It with some variation, and there'll be a little bit of it in the next episode, more than likely. But from where we're at now, the next episode should basically cover Ellie going after the WLF, who's like Abby and her friends. And then what I'm guessing is that we're going, because I don't know how many episodes this season is, but we'll get that. And then what will probably happen is that this season will end where the game stops having you play as Ellie, and then you switch over to playing as Abby. So I could see, so the rest of the season will probably follow Ellie, and then season 2 will probably follow Abby. Now this is my guess, right? I was wrong about how quickly they were going to get to the ending of this episode. Mm-hmm. When you sent me that text message,
hey, there you go.
Oh, here we go. Have you played the games? Hi, Bella's first date. Oh, dude, work is like blowing up my phone right now.
Are they saying, why are you live?
Yeet. Yeah, that was really weird. So where did we leave off? What were we talking about?
You were talking about
the show,
the game,
the differences,
the points you get, the point to which you get in the game to where you stop playing as Ellie and start playing as Abby.
Yeah. So
and I said, ugh.
Yeah, and I'll say this: like, I like Caitlin Dever. I think she's actually a good actress.
Agreed.
I actually. It's really like thinking through like what happens in the game. Now they're still portraying. I mean, I don't know how anyone can watch the episode 2 and have any sort of like remorse for Abby. And like we'll get into it because like all of the problems still exist. Every convenience of this episode is the conveniences that happen in the game. Well, how do we have Abby and Joel meet each other? It's like, well, what if they get Abby randomly runs into him out in the wilderness? She just happens to get chased into the exact location that she's at, and then conveniently, and the show does it. The show does it too, and I guess we're just kind of getting into it. Okay, hang on. I just did something weird. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties. Yeah, so it's like, that's convenient. They changed the scenario of it being Joel and Tommy to Joel and Dina. Like, Dina's not involved in hardly any of this, because in the game, Abby and Dina go out on patrol and they find Eugene. I think his name's Eugene. They find his like weed farm, and they have a little personal time together. Drags out for a little while too. And then that is what they were trying to do with that is show how like irresponsible the two of them are, and that it's supposed to like. And I guess should we say spoilers from here on out? Like if you're watching this at all, like you're not. Hopefully you're not here thinking that we're not going to spoil some of this. So basically, the scenario, what they were trying to get across is that Ellie, she's still irresponsible to a degree and more interested in hooking up with Dina than going on patrol. Now it's fine, that can work. I mean, she's supposed to be like a teenage girl. Like you can make stuff like that actually work in a story. The problem is that in the scenario, and this is kind of how it plays out in the game, because like though that happens and Joel and Tommy run into Abby and immediately tell her their names.
Right.
I probably still have the clip somewhere on my computer where it's literally like they run through a scenario, they're getting attacked, he saves her, and then Tommy's like, "I'm Tommy, and this is Joel," and it's like, it's just like, excuse me, the two of them would never do that to a stranger. Now, I'll give them this. Caitlin Dever, it works better with her stature and the way she looks, because you could argue in the show universe that, and especially with this version of Joel, if they had done this correctly, because they still don't do it right in the show, but it was the thought that I had that's like, okay, she looks much more innocent and like scared and less of a threat than Abby does in the video game. So you could like think in that moment that like Joel lets his guard down because he sees this girl that reminds him of Ellie. It's still kind of stupid because Joel just wouldn't do that. Like the dude is like, he's this grizzled veteran of this world. Like everything he does has a purpose and has a reason, and so it doesn't matter who it is, he's not going to give up his name lightly, because for one, he's done a lot of bad things.
You know what I mean? I don't even think Dino would. And like, it does make sense in the heat of the moment. Like in a way, I can see the sense of her saying who is who in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
But I think with the experience that they have at this point, it seems unlikely.
Yeah.
To just.
It would have been.
Out.
Yeah, there would have been like the whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense, because I believe with every fiber of my being that like if Joel is going out on patrol with Dina, he'd be like, if we run into people, do not use our real names. Now, they do set it up so that Dina, for some reason, and this is contrived as far as I'm concerned, but they do set it up so that Dina's like down on the horse going, Joel, are you there, Joel? And it's just like, why is she down there? Like they're on patrol together.
You would think they would use code names.
And you think she'd be with him because they're supposed to be backing each other up. And so the way that scenario, regardless of whether it's Tommy or Dina, the way that scenario should have worked out is that they run into Abby and they give each other looks. He saves her and he's like, "Hey, are you okay?" But they're giving each other looks of like, why is there this random girl that we don't know here? Why is she here?
Yep.
Because me, as a human being, if I'm in this scenario, that's what I'm thinking. And if I'm Joel and I have Joel's experiences and I'm in a situation where it's like, I've killed a lot of people, I've done a lot of bad things in my life, regardless of whether I've turned that around or like retired from that, I am definitely still on my guard with strangers.
Yep.
100%. Like there's not a chance I would be telling a stranger who I am. So that's kind of that. Regardless of whether we're talking about the game or the show, it's still dumb. It's still contrived. The Horde is stupid because you're talking about a group of people who are going on patrols every day, for like all day. Yeah. So you're telling me they never found this very contrived pit of infected and weren't like, gee, we should probably take some barrels of gas and dump them on top of that and burn them all up so that we don't have this problem. Not to
mention. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because we might be saying the same thing.
I was going to say, not to mention, there's actually a few things I was going to say. Number one was, they were saying before she even runs into Joel and Ellie, or Joel and Dina, Abby says, well, they're trying to formulate a plan because they're like, oh crap, we can't get into Jackson. And I'm like, if you've spent any time scoping them out, you would see they've been accepting refugees. And how are they going to know whether you aren't a refugee? You'd be able to stroll right on in there and kind of get to figure out, where Joel is, who he is, where he is, and be able to still, kill him, murder him at your own leisure, really. But so there was that. Secondly, when she even takes out on the way to go, before she runs into Joel when she's going down the mountain, I don't know if you caught to how she was holding her rifle, her firearm, and she was like holding it to her chest while she was
well, yeah, she's like hugging it like a teddy bear, dude. It was weird. It's like, first of all, don't you have a strap? Like, listen,
for those hold a firearm like that.
Yeah. For those of you that don't,
you would think with the training that she has, she would know that. Plus, her face isn't covered in sub-zero weather.
Oh, dude. And then somehow
Dina, wind was blowing.
Dude, and somehow Dina's the one that gets frostbite on her hand randomly. And then she gets injected with that thing and it knocks her out. I was like, what?
Immediately. That's not how that even works. Which is fine.
I guess, sure,
But
in a better show, maybe.
Yeah, and with her just having the beanie on, the beanie wasn't even covering her ears, and that was more so the part. I'm like, okay, number one, she's a woman. She has no facial hair. Her face is going to be freaking freezing. But even if it wasn't that bad, her beanie in sub-zero temperatures, I know because I've been out in it, isn't even covering her ears, which are really, really tender.
Yeah.
And that would definitely have gotten frostbite. And then to the point that you got to, somehow it's Dina the one that gets frostbite, even though Abby falls a bunch of times, doesn't have the beanie properly on, doesn't have a balaclava on over her face.
Yeah.
She falls down the mountain. She runs into the infected. She runs away from the affected with the wind, all while the wind is also blowing. Finally runs into Joel, gets on a horse. Then the wind speed kicks up even worse. People, let me tell you, this past winter, it was -40 and I was driving to work. And I accidentally, when you're in that kind of weather, you don't roll your windows down. I accidentally hit the window button and it rolled down. And I was like, oh, crap. And it wouldn't roll up. For a solid 15 minutes, I was driving 55 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour, whatever, with extra wind in my face at that point. It's just kind of the same thing it's worse obviously at that level. Well, but
it's
even in 0 to 10 to -10 degree weather, which is where they were at on the thermometer, it's still extremely cold. You can still get. So that was one part that these are really frustrated me.
These are soldiers. Like I don't know if it's been because they semi-mention it, I think, in the episode, but the WLF, they are a militarized organization. They are very well organized as far as the game is concerned.
Right.
And Abby and her entire team are supposed to have a ton of training. But they all kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't, none of that's really worked.
With their training, though, they would have had a face mask. They would have had something
exactly. The show doesn't account for any of that. And the game doesn't really either, from what I remember.
It's that kind of an afterthought. Which
it's very much it's winter.
Episode breaking. But
well, it's pretty close, and it's also one of the other things that I was really questioning was the giant group of frozen zombies that are infected that are just in this negative weather, and they're all coming out, and there's no effect to it. They're all just they're it's like they're not, and what's weird about all that, and I know it's
at
a
just
hive
the right
mind.
time,
yeah,
at just the right time,
Yep.
And then they just happen to leave and stop chasing after Abby at just the right time.
Yeah, to
and
head
Abby
towards the town.
just happens to run into Joel at just the right time.
Yep, dude, and I'm
what
telling
a bunch
you,
of coincidences.
This
David,
is
how
exactly
lucky is a person.
And it's exactly how it plays out in the game, except for the fact that the Horde never attacks Jackson, which was probably the better option because what they did totally. I kept at the whole time I was watching this thing happened to Jackson, I'm like, they're screwed. I was like, even if they survive this, they have lost significant resources. They're you know, like they show at least a bakery or something like that getting obliterated by zombies. The whole thing is like, and I'm gonna
like the town's getting overran, and then all of a sudden at the end, after
they're good,
you know, Abby's done torturing Joel, it's the city's actually good, even though the last glimpse you got was they're being taken over, like it was dire straits.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, because the
Helm's Deep has been blown up.
Dude, it's 100%. Dude, it was so fun. It's funny you mentioned that, because while watching this, I'm like, you know, I was like, I love the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but the amount of damage that like people have done thinking that they can do the same thing over the years is outstanding, because it's like,
hey, it was still better than episode 3 of Game of Thrones
season 8. Yeah, the potato episode.
At least they didn't send people back out on horseback to go fight the infected.
Bruh, I'm surprised. Well, you know, and then when
I'll give them that. Give them that, David.
Tommy's wife, like letting all the dogs out. I'm just sitting here like, it's like this massive horde, and I'm like, what are like 12 dogs gonna do against that? And I don't even know if they show any of the dogs getting killed.
Why wouldn't you use that? Like, have them there immediately.
Yeah, but she's like running in, like letting all the because it's not dramatic ultimately.
And then they don't even have the boards. Like, they don't have. It didn't seem like they had their door secured leading up to the balcony, the roofs on where everyone was at.
Yeah, dude. And why
zombies just break in so easy?
Oh my gosh! And then you had there was a couple things that were really interesting about that, just in like a stupid way, where. First of all, why are the walls of Jackson not thicker than one infected being able to punch a hole through them? Like it was paper mache.
At that point, you know, it's not like it's a startup settlement.
Exactly. Like they've been around for a long time.
5 years, 6 years, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah, someone in
it's
the town.
At least 5 years.
Yeah.
Because from season 1 to episode 2, it's 5 years.
Oh gosh. My dog is scratching underneath the table, and it's making my monitors like freak out. Can you hear? Are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, dude, Sam, stop it. But dude, yeah, okay. So, and what makes it worse in that scenario is that both Joel and Tommy have backgrounds in construction.
Yeah,
and so you're
they actually show Joel helping with the construction for the city. For the settlement, but
yeah.
I thought that was funny, and too that I don't know what that juggernaut one's called. I'll just call it a juggernaut. But that thing took like a cartoonish amount of bullets and
and the flamethrower. And I get it, you're trying to do the whole dramatic thing, but it's just one of those scenarios that like, okay, so that whole thing, right? From the time that infected, I can't remember what they call that one. It's slipping my mind right now. But from the moment that specific infected breaks through the wall, you have all those
husky size.
They have Tommy get abandoned by 2 of the townspeople, which seems weird. And then one of them, I guess it doesn't actually play out in any kind of way. I thought, because, you know, one of the guys gets like killed or whatever, and he holds his trigger or his finger on the trigger of the flamethrower, and it like falls over on some like boxes. And I thought that was going to cause like a ton of problems. You know, something was going to explode. Maybe it did, and I stopped looking at the.
I don't think it did.
Yeah, I don't think it did anything, and they made it out like something was going to happen with that. So that happens, and then all of the infected conveniently avoid Tommy that whole time. Like all of a sudden he's got crazy plot armor where hordes of them are running past him. And then the one big one locates the one person in the settlement that Tommy happens to care about, like the most. Like laser focuses on her for literally no reason. Like all these people are shooting, and he just goes, I must go after her because the plot demands it, because this one over here cares about her. And it's just like, come on. It's like you're telling me you guys couldn't have figured something better. You had the opportunity.
I agree with you. I agree with you, and I think to the cartoonish amount of bullets and firepower it took to bring that zombie down was a bit too much. It just seemed a bit over the top. And to your point earlier about the walls not being thick enough, and it just took one zombie to break it down.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's bad, dude.
Hell, I think probably the worst part is that the town's getting completely run over, and we cut to Abby killing Joel, and then we cut back after she's done with that, and the city's fine, they survived.
Yep, exactly. And then there was that moment too, and this is bad because it makes the logic for Joel, even this version of Joel, it doesn't make sense because Dina and Joel are riding on the horses with Abby, and they see the city on fire, and they go, "Oh, dang, you know what? We need to go back." And then Abby just goes, "No, we're really close." And they go, "Yeah, okay, we'll never mind."
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, that's not how that
we got to
would work.
go back because it's too cold.
And it's like, yeah, and it sucks because what's so funny about that is that
Dina gets frostbite, but Abby spends more time out in the cold than Dina does. It doesn't get any.
And what's so funny about the whole scenario is that most people, including myself, who have like so many problems with the story in The Last of Us Part 2, are more than willing to admit that it's fine for Joel to ultimately die, but you have to do it right, and you have to make the scenario work for sort of like the human element of what's going on here, which means Abby gets saved by Joel. She has conflicting opinions about what she should do about that scenario. You either, you don't kill Joel in the first 2 hours of the game and or at the very beginning of your show, or like this season 2. So it still doesn't make sense for that to play out that way. And then if you want to do the revenge thing with Ellie, ultimately you have Ellie track down Abby and kill her. Which, spoiler alert, is not how this plays out at all. And you're probably going to have to wait until season 2 to see, or season 3 to see that.
I wonder if they're going to do that, if they're going to have Ellie kill Abby in the end. I don't think
it won't happen.
But
I guarantee you it won't happen. Regardless of that, you saw what happens here. Ellie is screaming at Abby I'm going to kill you. And dude, the way that it plays out for Ellie to do that, it's like, oh man, I don't know what it is in all of this that the people writing this stuff just forget the world that these people live in.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense to me. And so it's just a scenario at this point of it's not going to get better, right? In honesty, and there's a scene coming up. I don't know if it'll be in the third. It depends on how they play out the season. But there's a scene coming up that happens early on when they go after Abby, where Dina and Ellie make some of the stupidest decisions early on. And I just don't want to mention it because I don't know if you know about this part. And I want if they do it the same way, it's going to be really funny to hear how you feel about it. Dude, it's so funny though. You got to understand that, because I had mentioned this to you last week, everyone in this show on both sides of this just continues to make stupid mistakes over and over again that should get them killed, but because the plot does not allow for that to happen, they just somehow manage to get out of these scenarios. And it's going to happen over and over. Dina in the game should have died. I mean, multiple times. Ellie's the same way. She's got crazy plot armor. So far, funny enough, because they left Tommy out of the scenario where he and Joel are the ones that are out on patrol together, right. They've actually erased one of the character assassination moments for him in the game, which is when he's the one that introduces himself and Joel to Abby. Yeah. So because he's not there, he's still as far as the show's concerned, man, he really, other than him having crazy plot armor, that's not anything as far as his character and the way that he's written that's changed anything. Like it's not the character's fault that the writing is like, well, he has to survive this because he survives in the game, so we can't have him die. But and it's funny too because he actually does some awesome stuff in the game. Like I think most people, as far as like what the product that we actually got from Naughty Dog, Tommy comes out of it not unscathed, but he's like less of an issue than a lot of the other stuff that's going on, because he does make like some proper decisions for his character, but there's still a couple things that he does that are really stupid. And the show's gonna just go in this incredibly nihilistic direction the further that it goes on, and it's pretty bad. So I think we should keep watching it for now. I just think that it's going to be tough, and I'm curious. My assumption is that they're still going to do season 3. They probably already greenlit it. But I am kind of
the numbers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the numbers.
Just like after episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see the numbers for season 2, like premiere and episode 2, like every episode. But I want to see that drop off, because it really is. I think I texted you exactly this. I'm gonna pull up our text messages, and I said that I think the only way to salvage the show would be to have Ellie go on her own revenge journey. The problem is that Bella Ramsey cannot carry the show, and I don't want to watch a show with only Ellie and Dina in it, even if she could.
Oh yeah,
Joel was a central aspect of that. It would be like with The Witcher, if The Witcher was a great show, which it wasn't, but if it was, let's just pretend. And they killed Henry Cavill. They killed The Witcher off, Henry Cavill, for whatever reason, and then they had Yennefer carrying the show at that point. Like, even if I really liked her and the actress and stuff like that, which I thought the actress was fine, but even if the show was really great and stuff in the story, you're taking away the central element that is the star of that. And that, say what you want about Pedro, he's a good actor, and his character, along with himself, is the one that is carrying the show. So I just think, like, I don't know if I was this isn't Game of Thrones in that you had more than just Sean Bean carrying that show.
Yeah.
And I think maybe they potentially thought they were.
Yeah, I think that they. It is weird.
I would have changed that. I wouldn't have had. I at least wouldn't have had Joel die early on. Best case scenario, if at all, would have been at the end of season 2.
Yeah,
but only if I was gonna do something to wrap up the show, because I just think at that point there's no sense of doing a season 3 if you're gonna kill off Pedro.
Yeah. Also, hello to everyone in the troll room. Hi, Victor. Hi, Derpy Entertainment, Jonathan, and Genitals. What's up? Glad to see you guys. Thank you for coming to our rant. That's kind of been a long time coming. I didn't think it was going to happen this soon, Joseph, but
I didn't either. I think I was texting you. The day before. I don't think they have the guts, or maybe the day
and then you were like, the only thing you sent me was like, they had the guts. And it's a bold move, and I think that's why we're both kind of interested in seeing the numbers after this, because this is the thing. This specific moment at the end of season 2 where they kill Joel is the thing that divided the fan base for The Last of Us. And what's interesting is I feel like in another world, and I don't know, maybe things would still have been a little people if they had not done this and The Last of Us Part 2 had actually lived up to the expectations of the first game. I think a lot of people wouldn't be as harsh on the first game as they've become. Because even I, going back and playing it, and I'm just like, yeah, it probably would have happened because there are such fervent defenders of the second game, and they're like, it has the best gameplay, the graphics, the story, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, it looks good. Like, it is a good-looking game for sure. But the combat, just like in the first game, is serviceable. It's nothing special. There's a lot of stuff that games from literally 20 plus years ago that they were doing that The Last of Us Part 2 doesn't do. It has what I would kind of call fake stealth mechanics in it, which is really frustrating to me. And which they'll, obviously there's not going to be a whole lot of like that playing out that way, but I will be curious to see if they try to like adapt some of that. And if it has like similarly like terrible like execution. But yeah, man, I'm trying to think if there was anything else from this episode that I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff. This whole episode, man, I mean, like, you can just...
How are we going to get into the city that's accepting all the refugees that just an episode ago Joel was reminded? You were once a refugee before.
Oh, dude. And I could tell you right now, it would have...
elite military unit.
Yeah, it would have been a much more interesting story, and this is the case for the game and for the show, if the way that scenario had worked out is if they had infiltrated Jackson and attempted to get to, to be a part of it. And in that process, you have the human conflict come up of like, oh, like Joel is this. And then and this is the problem, is that the writers for The Last of Us Part 2, I think to some degree don't understand their own source material. And we've talked about it some, because like the Fireflies, and I'm getting the feeling this is the way that the second season's going to go, that they're trying to sort of rework the Fireflies, because this is what they did in the game. They're trying to rework the Fireflies into this like Rebel Alliance, like Star Wars-esque entity, when in reality and they do mention it in the show, but in reality they're terrorists. They're incredibly violent. They use violence to get to their like end goal, and they're a product of the world that they live in. Like, they're not good people. And the show is like sort of attempting to like draw that line a little bit, but then like they're not doing a good job of it, because you have an entire group of people that like regardless of like the way that they would maybe attempt for you to get to know like Abby's group, which honestly, if they wanted people to connect to them more, they should have spent more time building them up in the show and in the game.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just doesn't work out. And even with like not really liking what they did with Joel in the show, and not really being a huge fan of Pedro Pascal, they still just don't play this out correctly. And there's not enough time for you to kind of like get to know both of these sides before this major conflict, which is another big criticism that people have with the game, is that you do this shocking thing, and then we're now expected to like sit through another 20 hours, including playing as the character who murdered a very beloved character, in like the PlayStation franchise. And you're just sitting here doing this, and you're like, it's like, it just makes you feel really gross. And it's like, see what we're trying to do here. And it's like, I see what you're doing. It's not working. And dude, there's so much history to all of this.
I don't blame you for not wanting to finish that other game. I couldn't imagine having to continue to play as Abby. That
dude, yeah,
terrible.
And like, there's I don't know if they'll get into it in this season, like if they'll introduce Liv, but like it just goes how this whole thing where it's like, see, like now Abby has her own Ellie, and they're going on this thing, and don't you feel like you're connected to all of this? Victor was asking if we use StreamYards. No, Victor, I just use OBS. Like the OG version of OBS. I just like it better. I'm not using StreamYards. Not paying for StreamYards.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I don't know. I don't really have much else. I mean, I'm rehashing old history at this point.
I was trying to think. I think probably my favorite scene in that episode was when Abby was running away from the horde and the fence collapsed on her,
Oh,
and she had a.
dude.
I thought that was a pretty, tense and interesting scene. I wish everything around it would have been better. I thought it was also hilarious how, you said earlier when Joel had Abby and they were riding back to her friends, and Joel sees the city on fire, and Joel's just like, "Yeah, we'll go to your friends." Whatever.
Yeah.
I had
Screw
also
the
thought
town
that.
and the people that I care about that I've been
I don't
around for
really
like
think he
years
would have
now.
been worried about the cold right then.
Dude,
that
it's
it was
so
that
stupid.
severe.
Yeah, he would have gone.
And just go right into a
Game-
bunch of strangers at that of like, oh hey, there's this random girl
Dude,
I
and
just
it's-
met. Oh, she
Yep.
just happens to have some friends.
Yep.
Right up the hill.
Yep, and he doesn't even attempt to fight back. Like the whole thing is completely misunderstanding Joel as a character.
Yep.
Show game, because the game plays out the same way, where he just walks directly into the trap, and it's like, and he has the same reaction. It's so it makes me angry. He's like,
and then Ellie sneaks in.
Oh,
and just
bro.
happens when she opens the door. Just
she
the
just
gun just happens to get grabbed.
yeah,
and,
she
and
forgets to
misses.
fire in that couple of seconds that she's got it aimed down sights at Abby. It's like, guys, you don't, and I hate this because it just
Poor
shows a
Bella
lack
Ramsey.
of understanding of how these things actually work. Like this show and the game is supposed to be relatively grounded. Like
Yep.
and that's what made it work for people before, because you're seeing people play out in a scenario and you're connecting to them because you understand the struggles and the decisions that they're having to make, even in very hard times. It's why people have always appreciated Joel, because they understand his decisions, even if they're like the things that he's doing, they're brutal, and it's like, would I act, and that's what you're supposed to feel like. It's like, in his shoes, would I have done something similar? Like with his history, with the way that he had to survive, like his relationship with Tess and Tommy and Ellie, like all of this stuff, it works. It makes sense. And then the second, part 2 comes out, and he's not the same character. He's got like this very like burdensome, like a woe is me sort of personality all of a sudden, and it's because Druckmann and the writing team for part 2 originally saw Joel as the villain, and they saw him as doing the wrong thing, and that he was just like a straight up murderer, and that there was no justification for what he did. And I am like 90% sure that he got interviewed by Colin Moriarty after either the first game came out or close to the second game. I think it was after the first game. And Colin told him, and he disagreed with him, because Druckmann was like, no, like, I don't see it that way. Like, Joel's supposed to be, like, the point was that, like, of that last part is, like, to show Joel as this, like, monstrous person. And it's like, well, how are you getting that, And then when part 2 came out and everyone saw what they did, they're like, oh, yeah, that's the way, because that's the scenario that you get in the second game. And they don't really do anything in this to even attempt to like subvert that a little bit. And like you were saying when we first started this, to be like, you had the opportunity to switch this up a little bit and you just went directly for it. Like, you didn't change anything about where this was headed, which tells me they're not going to change anything in any of the major beats in the story. Like, there'll be little things here and there. Curious if like Jackson's going to end up being a little bit more involved, if they'll like actually talk about the fallout from this massive horde like destroying their town, or if they're going to be like, and then like we'll get to the next episode and Jackson will be getting rebuilt, and then we won't really like worry about that anymore.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, man,
We
it's
should just review the House of David instead.
bruh, I need to watch that. Someone just have you watched any of it?
Yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the first 2 episodes.
Okay, I'll have to check it. I mean,
they're very upfront in the beginning that there are some things that they try to be as biblically and historically accurate as possible.
but they got
But there's some
fill in the gaps.
situations where they took creative license, but so they're not trying to trick you with anything,
Right.
and
Right. It's not
say this
The
is a
Chosen.
1-for-1. Yeah. yeah. It's not.
Oh,
it's
is that controversial?
But
the Mormon show about Jesus.
this week. Ironically enough,
Conclave? Is that the
yeah,
one? Is that from Angel Studios? Is that the one?
no, that's
No,
that's the Catholic one with
Oh,
Ralph
I know.
Fiennes in
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and
Any good?
and I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. I didn't really care for. I know a bunch of Catholics hated it, and I completely understand why. I hated it myself, but I didn't really care for. It's a typical liberal version of what they imagine something to be like. I hate to kind of even frame it that way. Dude. But it's like, these people aren't violent. We're all violent. And I'm like, no, they're active. Those people are actively being violent.
Bro. It's, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's so funny. I was talking to a friend of the show, Justin. I can't.
And then there's, I'm sorry, there's some blasphemy. There's some blasphemy in it as well. Funny enough, they don't even teach any type of biblical theology correctly, yet alone whether if it's Catholic or a Protestant viewpoint. And then the ending, if you don't care to watch it, I can spoil it. And spoilers.
I don't care. Spoilers for Conclave, the movie about the Catholics that no one watched.
There is a. I almost hesitate to call it a trans allegory.
Heard.
and it's more like a. If I understood it correctly, and anybody who has seen Conclave can correct me if I'm wrong, it's more like the person who ends up getting chosen for the Pope at the end is, I don't even know if it's they're presented as a dude in the show, obviously, so I'm gonna say dude. But I guess it's you remember that Olympian last year that competed in boxing, and people were saying that, oh, that's a man, but it was like reports came out saying no, that she was born with those parts.
It was like
I think it was one of those situations, like he thought he was a man up until he was 30, had his appendix taken out, and then it came out that he also had a uterus and stuff.
Interesting.
And so while it's not a direct one-for-one like trans allegory, you definitely understand
they're trying to push they're trying to push the boundaries of it. That's interesting.
They're trying to push the boundaries of it. And so I thought it was kind of just a boring movie all the way around. It definitely shouldn't have won Best Picture. I didn't see any reason for it to win Best Picture at the Oscar. But then again, everybody just found out something that
that didn't win. Amelia Perez. No, Amelia Perez didn't win. But wasn't Amelia Perez the one? What won Best Picture this year? I don't even remember.
I thought it was.
No,
I thought it was Conclave.
No, I don't think so.
Let's see.
But dude, I didn't care. I could have cared less about most of the stuff that came out. What won Best Picture this year?
So, actor, don't want that. Cinematography, don't care. Directing, don't care. Director was Nora. Film, where's freaking Best Picture? Okay. Oh, Anora was Best Picture.
Anora won Best Picture?
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
Dude, it's those, man. The Academy is definitely a little bit more horny than.
Did you see the article that came out this week, or the news report that says that the Academy is moving to only allowing people who have seen every movie?
That was so funny. I don't remember if we talked about that back when that was going on, but yeah, half the people who were in the Academy didn't watch all of the like Best Pictures, which is probably why Dune didn't end up doing quite as well. Because Dune was probably I'm sure people. I don't know if I would say objectively, but like for me, Dune was the only thing that got nominated that actually made sense to win that. But
if you were looking at part two, I got the list right here. I'll tell you who was in
Best Picture. Yeah.
So you have Anora, who won. You got The Brutalist, which I've heard is a brutal movie to get through.
It's like 3 hours long. There was like an intermission in it, and the guy was like, "Why is everybody watching Marvel movies? Go watch my movie." I was like, "Okay." No, don't get me wrong, man. Like, I understand like that point of view, but like, I don't know. There's like this thing going on in Hollywood right now. It's the same thing was going on with the Daredevil guy, where these guys are like gassing up their movies like they're the second coming, and then like Daredevil. It fell flat, and somehow it's getting a second season, even though less people watch that than Agatha All Along.
Yeah, maybe they realized, I don't know. But so you had The Brutalist, which I'm like,
I don't know if I'll ever
wife
watch
wanted
it.
to watch that, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not watching a 3.5-hour movie. This isn't Lord of the Rings.
It doesn't.
Something that I'm
dude,
interested in.
And it's not the same as some of the stuff. Like, one of the reasons you can get through something that's like, I watched The Godfather a couple weeks ago. That movie's 3 hours long, and it's great, and it's a pretty, for the most part, it's a pretty easy watch. Like, it keeps you going through the whole thing. Like, the tension keeps ramping up through the entire movie, and it doesn't really feel like 3 hours. And I don't think The Brutalist is on that level. So it's like, and like my time is valuable to me. So it's like, you got to really,
my time. You got to sell me. If you want me to watch your show, you got to, or your movie.
Whatever it is, there's got to be some piqued interest there. Well, okay. So sorry, Brutalist, Anora, what else?
A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Amelia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, I don't even know what that
is.
The Substance,
so I have seen The Substance,
and Wicked.
Okay, so Dune. So I will tell you,
was far better than Conclave,
and I'm sure you're correct. And I would say that like Wicked, The Substance, and Dune are all better than Anora. And I haven't seen Wicked because it's not.
Have you seen Anora?
I have seen Anora. It's not very good.
What? Yeah, you didn't like it. Okay.
It's very it is borderline like voyeuristic, and it's supposed to be like this. The way that I've heard people talk about it is that it's supposed to be it's very much like pro sex worker. But she's like a dumb kid who makes a bunch of bad decisions. And like gets caught up in it's like, and the whole thing. It's like, have you ever seen Marriage Story?
Yes.
It's like if Marriage Story was like about a stripper and the guy who's paying her to be in a relationship with, Yeah. So like it's like the fallout of that, except it's not nearly as engaging because the whole idea of like this marriage falling apart, I think, is a way more engaging story, and like it's very like I love Marriage Story because of how they treat the material, and that they were really trying to go for like because it feels almost, I don't know if they really meant it to be this way, but it feels almost like pro marriage because of the way that they adapt people going through a divorce.
Yes.
And I find that really interesting. I find it really interesting, like whether the way that they handled it.
Being intentional with that or not.
It wasn't the best movie that came out, and that was a stacked year because that was the year that Parasite came out, 1917 came out, Ford v Ferrari, even that gangster movie that it's not Soprano. What's that dude's name? Is Martin Scorsese did. I didn't really like that very much. Like that was like a 3.5 hour movie.
You're not talking about The Irishman, are you?
The Irishman, yeah. I just found it kind of...
Dude, that movie was so long.
So long. And I just kind of... That movie I found to be boring. Like, it just didn't do... It is not a top Scorsese movie for me. Like, it's not like his heyday stuff.
His stuff is kind of...
he's... you get... Listen,
falling flat
you get older, your interests and the way you see things starts to change sometimes. Like, I get it, but he's not quite like where he used to be in his heyday. And it's fine. I mean, like, I think he's had less of a like crash and burn than some other directors have. What's up, Whoopa? It's good to see you, dude.
What's up, man?
Hey, Whoopa, I may or may not have pulled a Paldean Whooper card for you, and it's in a nice little sleeve. So you need to send me your an address so I can send you some Pokemon cards because I got a little stack of them for you. Anyway, all right, let's do. Okay, we're almost at an hour. What time is it? Okay, are you good? Like, is there anything else we need to talk about before I just like totally change topics?
Subject. I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
I'm going to pull up my list while
The
we're
Last
waiting.
of Us that was I think my mind, but I can't think of anything. I think we covered all of that terrible episode. It just sucks that you want to continue watching it, but that's okay.
I know.
I'm going to try and watch.
I'm sorry.
I wish I could watch Warfare. Can't because it's not playing in my theater, but I do want to go see King of Kings, the animated Jesus movie.
Okay, I didn't even know they were doing that.
Yeah, I do want to go see it. It's playing at my
Wait,
theater.
like the old one?
No, it's a new Jesus animated movie, like
No.
legitimate.
Oh, I thought you were talking about It, the clown movie.
No,
I thought they were doing like
King
a.
of Kings.
I was like, that seems unlike you, Joseph.
You're like, what, Joseph? Watch it.
What?
Bro, that movie scarred me when I was a kid. When
Oh,
I was like
dude.
4 or 5 years old.
And you
Bro,
like,
my
if you like,
door, my door had accidentally locked.
oh
So
no.
we had a babysitter. Watched it with the babysitter while my mom was working, and then at some point my door got locked, and I was just banging on that door. Let me out of my room now. Man,
Also, by
bro,
the
I
way,
was
my friend who I text because I wouldn't call her a normie. She's a writer, and but she's not really into like genre type stuff. But she had seen season 1 of The Last of Us, and she didn't
Ooh,
even.
that's so contrarian, bro.
It's kind of strange, right? She hasn't actually. I don't even think she knew season 2 of The Last of Us was out. So if that gives you any, and she's a writer, but she's a stay-at-home mom, so she writes scripts and stuff, and then takes care of her kid at home. So it's not like she doesn't have time for something like that. And so it's really interesting that even she isn't like, it almost has like no interest or whatever in picking it back up. I'll keep you all updated if she actually starts watching it, because she asked me if I thought season 2 was good, and it's funny because like we had talked about this before, and I'm sure I mentioned it to her that like I'd played both the games, and I don't like the story in the second one for specific reasons that I wasn't going to tell her because I didn't want to spoil it for her. Like I like getting the actual like reactions from people without them getting spoiled for this stuff, because that's how you kind of gauge what's going on, and like how people, the temperature that people are kind of feeling towards something that maybe they liked the first part, and then like this comes around, it's like, so how you feeling about that? Like, you think that was the right move?
Let me run through this actor list for the King of Kings animated movie before we get into the list, because I know we'll be going soon. But so Pierce Brosnan plays Pontius Pilate.
Oh.
Oscar Isaac plays Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Kenneth Branagh plays Charles Dickens.
Branagh, but that's fine.
Branagh. Oh yeah, my bad. Uma Thurman plays Catherine Dickens, and then Mark Hamill plays King Herod, and then Forrest Whitaker plays Peter, the disciple Peter.
Okay.
And then Ben Kingsley plays Caiaphas, the high priest. So that's interesting. Forrest Whitaker playing Peter. Yeah.
Oh,
I could see him having a Peter voice.
And hey, it's voice acting. It's you're not actually that person, so it's fine.
Wait, he's not actually? Nah.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Whoopa said that his coworkers don't seem to be happy with the direction that the show for season 2 is going, which is, I think, some vindication for us. All right, Joseph.
Seen that coming.
Yeah, right. All right, Joseph. I need a number 1 through 72 because I'm gonna try to finish this list.
17.
Let's see if we've talked about 17. Oh, we haven't talked about 17. Okay. 17 is a movie from 1974. It's directed by Mel Brooks, about cowboys. Do you know what this movie is?
Ooh, let me think. I have it right on the top of my fingers.
It's a comedy.
Blazing Saddles?
It is Blazing Saddles.
Nice.
One of the best comedies that's ever been made. It is, for me, there's another movie on this list that I won't tell you what it is. Blazing Saddles and this other movie, and I believe they're right next to each other. They are.
Bone Tomahawk.
Ooh, I actually might. Well, it's not a top 100 list. Like, they're not in order. It's not Bone Tomahawk. Jeez, no. That comedy. These are both they're both comedies, but Blazing Saddles and this other movie. are what I would consider to be litmus tests for people's ability to handle humor. And you might be able to get. Do you want me to tell you what the other one is? Because it's 16 and 17.
Yeah.
Do you want to know what they are? So, Blazing Saddles, I think, is a great litmus test for someone's ability to handle humor.
Yep.
Because it is. Honestly, dude, it's crazy that this movie came out in the 70s, and I have to say now that there are a lot of people that I don't think could handle the humor in Blazing Saddles, like that it's just too it's too edgy.
Whoopa probably couldn't handle it.
Whoopa probably. I don't know. Whoopa, have you ever seen Blazing Saddles? Now, what do you think, Joseph? With what I've said so far, what do you think the other movie is? It's more modern, early. It came out in 2008.
Is it going? It's not going to be Hangover, is it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was like, it's not going to be Hangover.
I would call it. I would call it.
Is it Hangover adjacent?
No, I don't. I know. I wouldn't call it
so
Hangover.
It's not going to be McLovin, super bad.
No, it's not super bad. It's not in that realm. It is. It's much closer to Blazing Saddles.
Oh,
I can't believe it's fine. I don't want to tell you yet. I want
me.
you. No. I want you to try to figure out what it is. So, it's a movie that a lot of people nowadays, are like I would say maybe is retroactively the right word? No, it's not a Western, but it
comedy.
It's very much in the sort of like satirical, that kind of like vein. But it's not a Western. But it's a comedy.
Step Brothers?
No, it's satirical, and it pushes some boundaries for some things that people nowadays would not be happy about, and they're not happy about. Like, it gets brought up on the internet every once in a while that people like find this movie. Wow. They find this movie because of a specific. Okay, sorry. They find this movie.
Harold and Kumar?
No, they find this movie because of a specific actor that's in it, who, after this, became like monumentally famous.
Oh man, this is bothering me. Dang, and it's a pretty popular one, or
you'll know exactly. Yeah, you'll know what this is. You're gonna kick yourself for not knowing it.
Dang, dude.
Whoopa knows. Like this. Okay, you gotta understand. Like the actor, one of the actors in this, he went on. Dude, he's insanely well known now. Like probably went from being relatively unknown when this came out. And he is like, everyone knows who he is now.
Oh man,
because of a specific like franchise. I'm like right on the edge. At least I don't think there's anything else I can tell you about this.
Dang it, it's 2008.
Whoopa gave it away. If you check the,
I'm not checking. I'm trying to guess.
I'll see if there's anything else I can tell you that wouldn't.
Bro, why am I drawing a freaking blank, dude?
The movie definitely is very what's the word I'm looking for? It's definitely like making fun of actors and making fun of like Oscar bait and specific things that get like nominated in those categories.
Is it? It's not disaster movie, is it?
No, dude, it's way better than that.
Okay.
You're going too far into the stupid territory.
Okay. Man, I'm completely drawing a blank. You got to help me out here.
Okay.
You gotta tell me.
This is a movie directed by Ben Stiller that came out in 2008.
Oh, it's not going to be Zoolander.
No.
Did Zoolander come out in 2008 to
No.
Night the Museum?
No. Now, Ben Stiller directed and stars in this movie.
Oh, no.
And it has Jack Black in it. And Tom Cruise.
Oh. 2008.
And what's up, Pops?
Hang on, let me think. Hang on. I gotta think. like I'm all over this. I'm like dancing on top of its grave, and I can't get it.
Who else is in this? Danny McBride is in this. Bill Hader, John Voight.
Oh, so this is a really popular movie. Oh, is it Tropic Thunder?
It is Tropic Thunder.
Dude,
that's so funny.
I heard Bill Hader, and I was like, okay. Ben Stiller, Jack Black, Bill Hader, Tropic Thunder.
Tropic Thunder.
I was going too hard into the
you were and yeah, so
it's funny you said Tropic when you said Tom Cruise. For some reason my mind went to what's that movie with Christian Bale and Steve Carell, and it's about stocks or the
The Big Short.
Yeah,
The Big Short.
The Big Short.
Yeah,
that's where my mind was at, and I couldn't get out of that.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah, so I was trying to like, okay, if I have a friend and they don't watch movies and they're like, okay, like, you know, and they like my buddy at work, and he's like, I need a list because I need to like start watching some stuff. Like, you know, I was like, if I'm gonna put comedies on this list, I was like, what am I gonna put on there to like really be like it's not all of them, right? I mean, there's like I like Airplane could definitely be on this list. I think that like I don't think Hot Rod's on here, but like I personally would put Hot Rod on the list because I love Hot Rod. And there's some other ones, but I was like, there's something about Tropic Thunder and Blazing Saddles that they're just unlike so much of the other stuff in that like genre. They're like timeless to a degree, and then they constantly will get brought up because people discover them and it pisses people off. And there's something about that I like.
Yeah.
There's something about like people being like, I love Iron Man. Like, what else has Robert Downey Jr. been in? And they're like, what's Tropic Thunder? So, like it's like comedy, like unintentional comedy that the movie has provided years after the movie came out. Because like when Tropic Thunder came out in 2008, nobody cared that Robert Downey Jr. played that character because everyone understood the joke. And if you're paying attention and you're watching it, but then you have like this now like a group of people who grew up on Iron Man and they're discovering this and they've gone through like the system. And the system has told you what he did was offensive, but you're not actually paying attention to why the movie did that. And it's funny because, you know, they make fun of handicap, like the whole thing with like actors playing handicapped people in it. But nobody ever talks about that. Like nobody's pissed at Ben Stiller for doing that. They're all just mad at Robert Downey Jr. for what he did. And it's so interesting.
It is.
Like the way that played out. So anyway, yeah. 16 and 17 are Tropic Thunder and Blazing Saddles. And no specific order. That just was how I put them on the list. And so I think those are excellent. I'm glad we got to talk about this. I was wondering when that was going to pop up. So I like, dude, this is like, honestly, this is always my favorite part of the show.
Yeah.
Just getting to have this little like game or whatever.
Maybe we'll just do that next week.
I know we could hit. I mean, dude, we could go through like
The Last of Us.
Like, yeah. Well, I still think we need to do like Last of Us updates, but I feel you on not. It's all downhill from here, man. I mean, like we hit the whatever kind of pinnacle The Last of Us is. Some Like It Hot was way before its time. Oh, okay. So sorry, I did not explain this before we started doing this because we've been doing it and Whoop has been away for Lent. I had a friend at work who so let me go back a little bit further than that. Joseph and I have always had this theory that a lot of people who are like Gen Z and younger didn't really grow up watching movies. And like I'm not counting Marvel in that because Marvel's like a spectacle, and even though I like some of those movies and I think some of them are well written and well acted, and they're not it's like not the same as the stuff that older generations grew up on, stuff that was like really instrumental to me loving film.
Right.
And so I had a conversation with a friend of mine at work where he's like, I didn't grow up watching movies. He's like seen Marvel movies, like understands the comic book stuff. And he's like, I want to start watching more movies. He's like, should I start with like a lot of the Marvel stuff? And I was like, no. And I was like, let me make you a list. I was like, I will make you a list of stuff that you need to watch. And I was like, this is stuff that like I grew up on, stuff that I've discovered over the years. And I was trying to make it like a lot of the core stuff is stuff that's was really important to me growing up. And then I'm trying to fill out the rest of the list with things that, like Pops is saying, there's a lot of ignorance of film pre-1990s. There's a lot of 80s, there's 70s, and so now I'm trying to go back and at least put a movie, one like pinnacle kind of movie from each decade that I think it's not just about it being like this is like considered like top cinema or like this is what we talk about when we say cinema. It's really about something that like someone can easily get into from that time period. And it's a little bit, you could call it a little bit subjective. It is my list, but there's a lot of really good stuff on there. We've already, let's see, what have we talked about on here? I'm going to go back, make sure
I do have to.
You got to head out soon.
Get off and go. Yeah, I got to head out
but
now.
Stuff like Lord of the Rings, The Raid, what else have we talked? Tropic Thunder and Blazing Saddles. Pretty sure I might be spoiling, but Dread is on the list. Even though that's a little more modern. But there's stuff from the 80s. There's stuff, I think I've got a couple things from like the 60s. When did this come out? Oh, this is from the 70s too. Okay. So just there's a lot of different stuff on here. And it's not done. I'm only at about 70. And it's funny, some of the Pops, you're spoiling it. No, I'm joking. But yeah, so there's a lot of like really interesting stuff on there and stuff to just get someone started. Like this is just like, hey, this is going to help you get started. And you should be able to take this as a foundation and then be able to spread out from there and discover some things like maybe from some of these actors or like what else. Oh, I really like a lot of these 80s movies or this specific director. Like what else did they do? And so that's kind of the goal in it, is that they'll take that and maybe start looking. We talked about The Prestige as well. So like someone like Christopher Nolan, they would be like, man, I actually really enjoyed The Prestige. Like what else has Christopher Nolan done? And then they're going through like that filmography, and that's going to be a huge thing. So that's really the goal in it. Pokemon, the first movie, better be on the list. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Don't want to keep Joseph past his due date. So thank you, Joseph.
Sure.
We'll be back next week to talk about some more Last of Us. We'll see what happens between then and now, or now and then. And we'll talk about some more movies, and who knows what else is coming out. They released the Predator Badlands trailer, which I haven't watched yet. But I saw the Predator, and I don't think it looks very good. So I think the design is I don't. Yeah, it does. It is a very interesting take on the Predator design. Yep. So yeah, until next week, y'all, thank you all for showing up in the troll room live. For those of you that are listening to this, once I finally get caught up on uploading all the podcast episodes to whatever podcast network you listen to, thank you guys for listening to them there. And until next week, y'all take it easy.
See ya.
I gotta end the stream.
You're fine, dude. I'm about to